Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, I'm bringing you guys Week 11 quarterback rankings for fantasy football in 2020. Inside of this video, we are going to be discussing the top 20 quarterbacks of week number 11 and why they're ranked inside of the top 20 at their given spots. So before we get into the video, I'd like to ask that if at any point inside of this video you end up having a great time, you end up having a chuckle, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you are new. I would really appreciate it, and you are going to appreciate it as well, because I deliver content on a daily basis that are going to help you win that 2020 Fantasy Football Championship. And real quick, before we go deep into it, I'd like to give you guys a quick word from my friends and my sponsor over at Drafters.com. Drafters.com offers a variety of games on their website, as well as a variety of sports, but obviously here we're a fantasy football channel, so we will focus on fantasy football. One of my favorite games to play on their website is the $5.50 NFL Sunday Whale. It's pretty much a GPP tournament, which means you're going to be drafting up against 4 players, but you're actually playing up against a much bigger pool for a very high prize pool to make a decent amount of money. Now, it's very, very fun to play and super easy because, again, you're just drafting up against 4 guys to fill out a lineup of 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and 2 flex spots. And if you magically create that one lineup, you're going to be getting dividends back your way. There's a variety of games on their website as well. There's just head-to-head matchups where you're drafting you versus another player for a variety of prices as well. I've done that for Monday Night Football. It was just a $1 game, and I ended up winning $2. It's just very simple, and it's very fun, and it doesn't have to cost you too much money. There's a variety of games from $1 all the way up to like $250. So make sure you guys check it out. Drafters.com. Use code Notorious at checkout for a 50% deposit bonus up to $100 with a 10 times rollover on that bonus to withdrawal. And we are back. Let's get into it. Week 11 quarterback rankings. We begin with quarterbacks 1 through 12. Now, obviously, Kyler Murray as well as Kyler Murray as well as Russell Wilson are not going to be inside of the top 12, the top 24 of these rankings. Why is that? That's because they already played their matchup, and I thought it would be redundant to put them in here when I could just move other guys up and get more players into this video. So coming in at number 1, we have Patty Mahomes at the Las Vegas Raiders. Patrick Mahomes has looked very, 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 very solid thus far this season. He has only thrown 1 INT and I believe 27 tutties. This man is on an unreal pace going up against a defense that is not that great in the Las Vegas Raiders. The last time these two teams played this season, it was an absolute back-and-forth affair that the Raiders ended up winning 40-32, which tells you that this is going to be a decently high-scoring game with high volume coming from Patty Mahomes. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be able to air it out a lot in this matchup, so I like him as QB1 on the week. And number 2, we have Justin Herbert, the pervert, going up against the New York Football Jets. Now, Horsecock Herbert has been playing on an unreal pace for a rookie quarterback as of recently. Last week up against the Dolphins, he kind of simmered down, but still ended up scoring 3 touchdowns, 2 passing, as well as 1 rushing. And that was up against one of the tougher defenses in the NFL, in the Miami Dolphins. And this week, he gets one of the opposite of that, one of the easiest defenses ever. You could put Stevie Wonder in as the quarterback, and this man would be dotting up the New York Football Jets all game long. The plus to this matchup is also that the Chargers defense isn't all that great, so I think that cool Joe Flacco is going to be throwing some yards in this one, keeping them close into the game, where Justin Herbert's going to have to continuously air the ball out to keep them in the matchup. I love Justin Herbert as quarterback 2 on the week. And number 3, we have Lamar Jackson versus the Tennessee Titans, a revenge game spot for him from getting absolutely skull fucked, destroyed, analed, beaten to a pulp last year in the playoffs by the Tennessee Titans. Will he get his revenge? I'm not sure if he'll win this game, but the Tennessee Titans defense sure as shit looks like they just crumble. When the game's on the line, they crumble like a goddamn Girl Scout cookie. It's unbelievable. Lamar Jackson is going to be able to put up big numbers in this matchup. He scores a lot of his fantasy football points from rushing. I understand that Lamar has not lived up to the expectation that a lot of people had for him coming into the season, me included. I had him as quarterback number 2 on the year, and he is nowhere near that as of right now, but I will play Lamar Jackson this week as a top 5 quarterback at number 3. At number 4, we have Mr. Discount, double-check the State Farm man, Aaron Rodgers at the Indianapolis Colts. And Mr. Aaron Rodgers has been wheeling and dealing as of recently. This man looks like he could be the MVP of the league when the season comes to a close. He looks that good. The Colts defense looks very good, so understand that, but I think the Discount double check man will be able to overcome a tough defense and put up a high score for fantasy football. Another worry of mine for this matchup is if or if not Davante Adams ends up playing. If Davante Adams does not end up playing, this matchup scares the ever-living shit out of me. I would run to the fucking hills if Davante Adams doesn't end up playing, but based off of my projections, what I've seen on Twitter from all these fantasy doctors, everything I've read coming out of Green Bay, it appears that Davante Adams is going to be suiting up on Sunday, which is great for Mr. Aaron Rodgers. At number 5, we have Big Ben Roethlisberger at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, if you're thinking of another soft-serve ice cream matchup, right? We already talked about the New York Football Jets. This would be like maybe even ahead of the New York Football Jets. The Jacksonville Jaguars defense, Big Ben, last week laid the murder game down. This man threw so many fucking touchdowns that it was unreal. He was slinging the yard all game, or slinging the rock all over the yard all game long, and I think the same thing is going to happen this week up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. We got a sunny game in Jacksonville, and sun's out, the guns are going to be out for Big Ben Roethlisberger and all of his wide receivers. Ben put up 4 tutties last week up against the Cincinnati Bengals, and I would not be surprised at all if he was able to put up a humongous game like that again. The Jaguars' defense is piss poor, and Big Ben's going to whip his cock out and piss all over that defense. And number 6, we got Matty Ice, Ice Baby, dun 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 dun, at the New Orleans Saints. Now, I want to talk about something here. What the fuck is wrong with Sean Payton? Sean Payton, head coach of the New Orleans Saints, comes out and says, Jameis Winston will not see a single snap on offense. He won't have an offensive package in this game. Then, a mere 4 hours later, comes out and says, I actually don't know who the quarterback's going to be this week. You don't know, motherfucker? It's Friday. You know exactly who's going to be starting, so fuck you, Sean Payton, for not telling us who's going to be the starter. I have no idea who's going to start. I think it's going to be Taysom Hill, but it could end up being famous Jameis Winston. With that said, that actually does shift the ideal on Matt Ryan. If it's Taysom Hill, I don't like Matt Ryan as much. I frankly think Matt Ryan is going to lay the murder game down if Taysom Hill plays in this matchup. Taysom Hill is a garbage-ass quarterback, plain and simple. There's a reason why Sean Payton puts him as a fucking gadget player on the team, because he's not good enough to be the quarterback himself. Why was he not the quarterback last year when Drew Brees went down? It's because he's not built to be a fucking quarterback. Matt Ryan is going to eviscerate this Saints defense. Not eviscerate, obviously, because the Saints defense is pretty good, but he's going to get a lot of opportunity in this matchup to be throwing the rock. But if Jameis isn't slinging it back at him, right? Fucking Spider-Man style, like I expected this game to be, it's going to be much more worrisome for Matt Ryan if Mr. Jameis Winston does not end up suiting up on Sunday. At number 7, we have Deshaun Watson versus the New England Patriots. Now, the Patriots' defense is not the Patriots of last year. Last year, they had one of the best defenses in the NFL. Now, the defense of this year looked like they couldn't even cover me if I had to run a fucking route out there. Deshaun Watson has looked very, 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 very solid this season. He hasn't been necessarily amazing, but what the fuck did you expect without DeAndre Hopkins? But he still looks pretty decent. And decent is like an understatement. He looks very good. But up against the Patriots defense, I think Deshaun Watson has the weapons there to sling the rock a decent amount to get him a top 8 quarterback finish on the week. At number 8, we have Matty Snapback going up against the Carolina Panthers in Carolina. Now, the question with Matt Stafford is, will he be able to play after he fucked up a tendon in his throwing hand? That's not good. Just so you know, when one of your fucking fingers doesn't work on the hand you're gripping the ball with, not very good. Now, I don't think this is going to deter him and make him completely awful in this game, but he honestly had top 5 quarterback potential, in my opinion, this week. Up against the Carolina Panthers, based on their showing last week, up against the Washington football team, had his hand been okay. But with his hand slightly impaired, I'm not too sure I love him this week, but I do have him as a top 8 quarterback because the matchup is very, very juicy. At number 9, we have Tom Brady versus the Los Angeles Rams, and TB12 is in for a treat this game. He is. He's playing up against a very tough defense in the Los Angeles Rams, which does kind of worry me. But then again, he's Tom Brady, so that kind of, you have to like put them in some type of simulation in your head. You've got Tom Brady going up against a tough defense, and you have the fact that Tom Brady is Tom fucking Brady, so it just evens out. I think he'll be fine up against the Rams, but don't be surprised if the Rams absolutely assault him. That's assault, brother, behind the offensive line. So when you start Tom Brady, understand he's not super safe this week. He's much more risky, but his upside is immense when you have the wide receiver core that he has in Tampa. At number 10, we have Derek Carr versus the Kansas City Chiefs, and I talked about it earlier. Pat Mahomes versus the Raiders is going to be a shootout in Vegas. And when you call for a shootout, that typically means both quarterbacks are going to play good in the matchup. So I will be in favor of starting Derek Carr this week. I think he looks good, and he has looked good thus far this season. Now, I have no clue at all which wide receiver is going to be doing it for him in this matchup to get him up there. I think that he just spreads the ball around so much in this offense that there's no way to really call for a true wide receiver one on this offense besides Darren Waller, who is an absolute maniac at the tight end position. At number 11, we have Wham Bam Cam Newton at the Houston Texans. Now, I don't feel very confident with dubbing Cam Newton as an amazing start on a weekly basis, but here we have another case of him getting a soft serve cupcake matchup on the defense. So I'm going to go ahead and believe in Wham Bam Cam Newton at the Houston Texans. But again, what can you expect from Cam at this point? I don't expect him to sling the rock and throw like 3 touchdowns. I think you have to heavily rely on the rushing touchdowns from Cam Newton, which he typically scores. So I'm going to go ahead and put him as a top 12 quarterback. But again, none of these guys, like from range 11 and 12, would be inside the top 12 had Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray not have played on Thursday. At number 12, we have Carson Wentz at the Cleveland Browns. Now, Carson Wentz has been just a fucking roller coaster ride for fantasy football. Wentz starts off the season looking all right. Then he hits his fucking peak. He hits the edge. He was teasing you. He was just fucking teasing you a little bit. And then he went on fire. And then he cooled down. Will he get on fire again is the question. Now, he's been pretty safe for fantasy football because he hasn't had those games where he just shits the bed and plays atrocious, right? He wore his Huggies to bed. He just plays shit, but he shits the bed, but he doesn't actually shit it because it's in his diaper. And he's just playing all right, right? Now he gets to the Cleveland Browns, which is a tough defense, no doubt. But with Myles Garrett likely not suiting up, or 100% not suiting up this matchup because he's got the big Rona, I kind of like Carson Wentz a decent amount this week. I think he's a very safe quarterback at quarterback 12. Now on to quarterbacks 13 through 20. So if you guys have ended up enjoying this video thus far, please make sure to slap that subscribe button down below like you mean it. Hit it with the 1-2 goddamn Mayweather. I would really appreciate it. And if you're not new, please hit that like button. At number 13, we have Ryan Tannehill at the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the last time these two teams faced off in the playoffs last year, this was a murder at the hands of Ryan Tannehill, O.J. Simpson style, and the glove did fit. It was Ryan Tannehill, the one who fucking destroyed the Baltimore Ravens defense. Now, I'm not too sure that happens this time because the Tennessee defense has looked bad and the Ravens defense looks, well, great. So, with that said, not too sure how much I believe in Tannehill. As of recently, Tannehill's looked like shit. Early in the season, this guy was looking like an MVP candidate. He was looking like everyone was underrating him. And then now, maybe we're overrating him. I don't know. I like Ryan Tannehill as a player. I'm just not ultra confident in him, so I got him as a quarterback 13 on the week. And number 14, we have Teddy Two Gloves versus the Detroit Lions. Now, Teddy Bridgewater's coming into this game with an MCL injury, so his likelihood to play is definitely up in the air like a clown juggling some fucking balls. All right? So, will Bridgewater suit up? I don't know. He's top 14 if he plays, obviously. If he doesn't play, then you're not going to start him. This matchup's very good. The Detroit Lions defense got fucking put out to dry. They got absolutely murdered by Alex Smith and friends last week in Washington, so I think Teddy Bridgewater will have a fine matchup here if he ends up suiting up. At number 15, we have Tua Tagovailoa at the Denver Broncos. My biggest worry for Tua in this matchup is not that this matchup is hard for the quarterback position, because Tua could dissect them like a fucking frog in a high school biology room, but what happens if the Dolphins defense destroy Lock or Rippin? What happens if they're up by 1 million? They're going to run the ball. They're going to slow down the clock, or they're not slow down the clock. They're going to slow down the speed of the game, drip the clock, win the game. Flores is smart. He's not going to make Tua Tagovailoa go out there and throw 70 touchdowns to win this game. If they're up by 1 million, they'll just run it. They won't be doing insult to injury with Tua. I don't think so. I think Tua has a fine game. I just don't see tremendous upside when I feel like the game is going to be so easily won defensively that I don't think Tua has to air it out all that much. Quarterback 15 has a whole lot of upside up against Denver due to the fact that their defense sucks cock. But my thinking of this puts him outside of the top 12. Number 16, we have, you like that, Kirk Cousins versus the Dallas Cowboys. Now, Kirk Cousins is kind of a start. Kind of a guy I like. My issue with him, though, is I feel like you either get Kirk Cousins that just slices and dices through the defense, or you can get Kirk Cousins that hands the ball off 50 times to Dalvin Cook, right? And that has nothing to do with Kirk Cousins' skill set. It has kind of does, but it has 100% to do with the fact that the Minnesota Vikings are either going to run the ball 1 million times or they're going to let Kirk cook. I don't know what happens in this game. I don't know what happens in any single game. But up against Dallas, if they let Kirk Cousins go to fucking work, he'll be able to go to town up against this Dallas defense. But again, you never know because Dalvin Cook is so good. At number 17, we have Jared Goff at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, this is definitely a tough matchup for Jared. And Jared is another quarterback that is either rock fucking hard, Viagra, whatever the other one is called. He's that hard. He is like, all the blood is down there, right? Or this motherfucker has erectile dysfunction. He can't get it up. He's got whiskey dick, ED, all these things at the same time. He's either going to look like Pat Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, or he's going to look like Mitch Trubisky. And there's no in the middle. That was an all-right Jared Goff game. It's either that was an amazing Jared Goff game, or I just threw up in the fucking corner because I started Jared Goff. Now he's playing up against a tough Tampa Bay defense. I don't know about it. Quarterback 17. Number 18, we have JB. Oh. You know you love me. That's a Justin Bieber song right there. To all you Beebsters like myself. I don't even think that's what they call them. They call them Beliebers, I believe. I'm a believer. I love you, Mr. Justin Bieber. Joe Burrow at the Washington football team. Kind of a tough defense. Good quarterback. That's really how I break it down. And the fact that the offensive line sucks scares me up against the Washington football team. So I think Burrow will have an all-right game, but nothing to write home about. At number 19, we have Alex Smith, the 300-yard man last week, up against the Detroit Lions. This week gets the Cincinnati Bengals, a soft-serve ice cream matchup. But I just don't know I trust Alex Smith to do it again, especially when they have such skilled running backs in J.D. McKissick as well as Antonio Gibson to take away those touchdowns, to throw him further down the rankings. But there's a lot worse quarterbacks than Alex Smith this week. Final quarterback of the video is the man with 7 million kids, Phillip the Thrill-Up Rivers versus the Green Bay Packers. Now, Phillip Rivers, it seems like they're going to win this game by handing the ball off 7 million times to the smorgasbord of running backs they have behind them. I think Rivers will do good enough to finish as a top 20 guy, but, I don't love it because I feel like they're just going to run the ball 7 million times. So that's why I got him as quarterback 20. So thank you guys all for watching this video. If at any point you ended up enjoying, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you're new. I love each and every single one of you motherfuckers. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys check out drafters.com. Link down below in the description. I'll have a great rest of your guys' day. Code Notorious to check out. I love you all. Peace out, motherfuckers. See you in a couple of hours with the tight end rankings video. Good boy.